Good morning. Wanted to talk a little bit more about target audiences this morning. I was asked yesterday, not for the first time, about whether or not I think it's a good idea to have multiple target audiences for a brand. This often happens when you have a small business who is reactive. And I was like this in the beginning too. Like, you make a couple of products, you like them, you go sell it in a market, and people are like, hey, do you have this? And you're like, no, but I could make that. And then you do, and it comes out great, and you sell it. And then the next month, someone else says, hey, do you have that? And you're like, no, but I could. And boom, boom, boom. The next thing you know, you have a wide variety of products that are being purchased by a wide variety of people. And this is fine if you have a local small following and different types of people are buying from you and you're happy with that. However, a lot of the businesses that I talk to, they want to scale. What that means is they want to grow. They want to get bigger. They want to have a marketing program in place that could allow for consistent online sales. They also want to wholesale. And one of the struggles that they have is like, how do I find good wholesale accounts? Like, what kind of businesses are a good fit for my brand? And if you have target audiences that are all over the place, young women, older women, young moms with babies, men, then it's difficult to find a store that specializes in all of those things. It's tough. I mean, there might be one or two, but I'd like to go back to my biker analogy. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I explained this scenario of a friend of mine, a client of mine, wanting to target people who vacation in Florida, and how that's just a very difficult thing to do because people visit Florida for a wide variety of reasons. And so if you wanted to message to someone about their interests and their hobbies and their passions, to do that to a very general group is almost impossible. And so the biker analogy was great because it's very easy when you have a specific target to get inside their head and understand exactly what they want and how to name your products, how to package them, etc. So what do you do when you want to have multiple targets? Well, you can't really have a marketing program then, because what you'll do is you'll confuse people. If on Monday someone sees something for your brand and it's targeted to moms with babies, but then on Tuesday they see something else and it's targeted to men with beards, and on Wednesday they see something else and it's targeted to women with sensitive skin, they get confused. And you know what happens to the brain when it gets confused? It ignores. Our brains are constantly, I'm talking about our subconscious really. Our subconscious is constantly searching for solutions to problems. And if I start to get a whiff, a scent that your brand might be for me, then I'll continue to seek it out. My subconscious is looking for more. If the next time I see something from your brand, it tells me that it's not for me, I'm just gonna close the door and move on and continue to search for something that is. People are not that complicated. And when you confuse them, they ignore you. And when you market on places like Facebook, which are fantastically cost effective and wonderful for the ability to target, people are going to be inundated with an overwhelming number of marketing messages each day. So the minute you confuse someone, the minute you plant a seed that this product is not for me or this brand is not for me, I'm gone. And that's the real risk, is that when you try to be too many things at once, you end up being nothing to everyone. Making a decision about a target audience is scary for a lot of people. There's this worry that if I pick one, I'm going to be like turning away all this other business. I promise you that brands that are really specific in who they target are financially far more successful than these little brands that try to be everything to everybody. Because a brand that understands the key to marketing is being a specific solution to a specific problem for a specific person. And that's like when you can hone in on that, what exactly is your thing, your hook? That's how you can scale, because you're like, okay, I figured out that this kind of person with this situation really wants my products. All right, well, let's find 1 million more of those people. We're going to market with a specific message that's very clear that this product is for this person. And boom, that's how it takes off. That's also how it's easier to find wholesale accounts that are a good fit, because stores where those people shop, That's where I'd start first. There's this temptation though to say, you know what, I'm gonna defy the rules of marketing and I'm just gonna be everything to everyone, or I'm just gonna at least have 2 target audiences. Okay, try it. The problem is you're gonna be pulled in 2 directions. It's hard to get in the head of multiple target audience simultaneously. Trust me, I've tried this. This is not stuff that I'm just like hypothesizing on. I've tried to have multiple target audiences, and I have 2 businesses right now and they have totally different targets, and it's extremely challenging to hop back and forth mentally. So I actually have one of my employees now inside one of the targets and I'm inside the other one, because I have found that, and even though I'm like obsessed with and love marketing, to hop around and be inside the head of multiple targets is difficult. And if you want to build a brand, the key to marketing is understanding the psychology of your buyer. What makes them tick? What are they interested in? What are they passionate about? That's why the biker analogy is so fantastic, because it's really easy to profile a group of people with that specific of an interest. Because we can see that they have a whole set of brands that they support, a whole set of events that they go to, a whole set of businesses that they frequent. And that makes it easy to figure out what exactly should I talk to my target audience about, other than simply my soaps or whatever product you make. Fight the temptation to have multiple targets. If you want to stay small and just sell at your local market, you don't really need a target. I mean, you should, but it's not necessary, because that's a very passive approach to a business. You're saying, I'm simply going to just show up at this event and hope my people come and buy. And yeah, you can tailor your display and your packaging a little bit, but the key and the necessity of a target audience is when you want to market and scale, because that's when you want to come up with some kind of marketing message or a marketing hook that attracts your people like bait. So if you want to sell online and you're trying to have multiple target audiences, you either need to have a big ad agency that can have different teams on each brand that can separately get inside the head of each, which I doubt anyone that I know is in a position to afford, or you've got to just pick one. Now, one thing you can do is pick one, dominate that market, become the leader in your space. And when you feel like you have tapped out that market and there's nobody left in that target audience for you to sell to, add a secondary target, like in 2 years. Own one before you do the next. Because this desire to be too many things, it's actually not a good marketing decision. It's a fear decision. It's like, I can't commit to one. I'm too scared. I'm going to turn away business. So therefore, I'm going to try to have multiple target audiences. And if you're a 1-person or a 2-person business, you're going to end up exhausted and frustrated, because your marketing is going to confuse people. You're not going to get a lot of sales. And you're going to be like, you know what? Facebook ads don't work. Marketing doesn't work. The market's too saturated. You'll come up with all sorts of excuses. But really, the problem is there's no specific clarity. There's no one ideal customer. What about selling both retail and wholesale? Totally. But the end customer should be the same. The end buyer. What you're doing in wholesale is you're simply just saying, I'm going to outsource my sales to another company whose businesses also sells to my same target audience. That doesn't mean you can't be successful. Like, your product can't move in an environment that doesn't specifically cater to your target audience. It's not that absolute. It's more about bait. Marketing is bait. So if you are trying to catch a specific kind of fish and you use the right bait, you're going to be a lot more successful than if you just use random bait. So when you don't have a target audience and you randomly approach wholesale accounts, not knowing what's going to work where, you're going to find some accounts work great, some accounts don't, and you're just going to keep trying this sort of random approach, which it could work. It could work, because if you randomly threw bait into the ocean, you could get some good fish. The thing about marketing, though, is that it can get very expensive. So if you're going to be buying ads or sponsoring things or whatever marketing events cost money, you want to hedge the bet in your favor. You want the odds of success to be dramatically higher than random. And so no target audience, randomly approaching business, random. It's like rolling dice. I prefer to be much more strategic and know that odds are higher than average. Odds are above average that I'm making a good choice, that I'm bringing in the right people. And that comes with very specific focus. when you try to be a generalist. That's why like specialists in medicine, they get paid more because they're focusing on a very specific problem and not trying to be a generalist to everyone. The same idea works here. If you want to be a general soap brand that works for everybody, you can't charge premium prices. You're going to have more competition because you're going to have other generalists competing for you. But if you're a specialist and you focus on one thing and you are really, really good at that one thing, you can charge whatever you want and people will come running to you. That's really the whole idea here is, do you want your life to be easier because you've made this specific choice about marketing and targeting a specific type of buyer? Or do you want to just be a generalist and just kind of hope it all works out? That's really what it's come down to in my experience. Kyla, you have a retail partner that doesn't like me selling retail? Well, like, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't like to compete with my wholesale accounts, but I don't set up a booth in front of their store. And the idea that my website competes with my local stores, I don't really buy that. There's too many people in the world. And I would love to believe that the reach of my website, is high, but it's really not compared to the internet. So that's usually a scarcity mindset thing where people are fearful that you're going to steal their sales. And that's actually just kind of ridiculous. It's hard to talk to someone about that though, because especially someone in a wholesale relationship, because you don't want to accuse them of thinking the wrong things or of being an idiot. That usually is not a great approach to do that. So I would just ask, what do you mean? And get them to clarify and get them to really explain what the issue is. And sometimes they'll arrive at their own conclusion that it's a bit silly. So yeah, your website's not competing with the store. I mean, you could tell them, yes, I'm hoping to have the entire internet visit my website, but that's probably not going to happen this year or this decade. You don't have the marketing budget for that. So anyway, just to wrap this up, multiple targets are a bad idea. It's usually decision based out of fear or worry, not a decision based out of marketing savvy. And just know that when you try to be a generalist and attract everyone, you'll end up attracting no one. And so start with one target. Dominate that market. That doesn't mean that other people can't buy your products. It's simply the bait you're using to attract more of those people. So start with one ideal buyer. So you can get inside their head, you can talk to that person specifically through marketing, and you'll be dramatically more successful. And stop worrying that you're limiting your market. You're actually going to exponentially increase it if you do this right. If you pick a really good target audience that's not based on your products. That's also I did a video last week that your target audience cannot be people who like your products or people who like products like yours. It has to be based on something completely separate from the category of bath and body products. So, hope this helps. Bye.